was helping my dad on the farm. It was a self-sufficient farm in north of Iowa, a little way. And I was in high school at Blissville, and the man that stayed with us, Cecil Patrick, went to work at Blissville every day, so I rode with him to school. And we picked up 2 or 3 others on the way. And I was there for my senior year because we only had 3 years at Iowa. And I was in the old building in Blissville school. And a guy and a girl come to our class and said they just bombed Pearl Harbor last night. And it was a sneak attack, and everybody was really upset and angry. After we graduated in '42 then, they started the draft. And they wouldn't draft me because I was on the farm. They said, we need food as well as we need guns and bullets. And all my friends and peers were drafted. In fact, one of my best friends, Mac Murphy, was in my class, and he was a neighbor of mine. And during the Depression, we hunted together to help find food for people to eat. And he was drafted. And I got news that he was killed in the Philippines. He had a flamethrower and he was on the beach, and he got shot there and died on the sands of Lake. And that was it for me. I said, I gotta go. I'm a mall. No, they didn't want me to go. And Dad hated me, really. And my mom, of course, did, because I was the only child and she couldn't have any more. And so they really spoiled me, I guess. I decided I wanted the Marines. I wanted to go get in the fight right now. So a bunch of us was on our way to Chicago on a train from Florida, Illinois. And we got to Chicago where they were inducting people in the services, and we said we want to join the Marines. No, we're not taking any Marines today. Well, I said, what about the Air Force? Well, the Air Force didn't either. The only branch that was taking men was the Navy. And I didn't want the Navy. I got seasick in a sports ring. And so I said, okay, well, we'll go to the Navy. So we spent 9 weeks, well, it was supposed to be 9 weeks. It was only 6 weeks in the Great Lakes train station for the Navy. And they needed some people in the Pacific real bad, so they cut our training short and sent us by train to California. We went the northern route, and it took us 3 or 4 days to get there. And we stayed at the Marine barracks in California, San Diego, and the next day we were shipped out on the USS Kenneth Whiting for the Pacific. We didn't know where we was going. And so I was on that ship for about a week. It took us a week to get to Pearl Harbor. We didn't know we was going to Pearl Harbor. But we had quite a trip because we had, the only really fear that I had during the war was that trip. We had a submarine that was following us, wanted to blow us up because they could have, because we were full of torpedoes and aviation fuel. And in fact, I put my mattress in between 2 torpedoes, slept on the way over there. So, but we had abandoned ship, I think it was 4 times before we got to Pearl Harbor because of that submarine. But I think what saved us was we picked up on the radar an aircraft carrier that was warming up planes. and they fired the 5-inch gun over the bow. And then, of course, then they responded that it was a friendly aircraft carrier, our own aircraft carrier. And what happened then, I think the submarine kind of must have picked up the same information, created those planes and everything, and the depth charges and all, I don't know what all. Anyhow, we went to abandoned ship 4 times, and mine was in the bow of that ship. It looked like it was miles of water, but it was only about 40 feet. And that we didn't have to abandon ship. So that was really the only time that I was kind of concerned about being a long swim from where we were back to land anywhere. We couldn't see land, of course. And we was getting closer to Pearl. So we pulled into Pearl Harbor and got off of the Kenneth Whiting. I was supposed to be assigned to the battleship the next week. So we were down there in line to go aboard this battleship. And an old chief come up to the line, and we were next, me and another guy who was in my company at Naval Training Station, was behind me. And the chief said, anybody here from Iowa or Illinois? And of course the man behind me said, yes, we are, both of us. I always thought you never volunteer for anything. So he pulled us out of line, so we didn't miss the duty on the battle wagon, and went to, it was Pearl Harbor, where the Arizona was, you know where it was from, probably. And we got on a YO-21. A YO-21 was a small tanker, really, but it was called a yard oiler. And we delivered fuel to the fleet. And first thing I did was they gave me a bunch of rags, and I started wiping up oil. I thought, well, I thought I was joined the Navy here fighting against the Japanese somehow or other. And I said, well, we need to do this. We got to have fuel to fuel these ships so they can fight. So I accepted that. I tried to get off it twice, but they wouldn't trade. I wanted to trade with a friend that I knew, Bud Mitchell from Iowa. It was on a DD, which was a destroyer. And they were one of the ships that went in first. They were really the fighting ship of the Navy. And they wouldn't let us do it. They wouldn't let us change. But my chief over me wouldn't let me go. Well, it would be the stench that you go through when these ships come in of burnt sailors. It was worse than being burnt or anything else. It covered the whole harbor, and it almost makes you sick. And so, you know, and the way those ships were beat up, some of them had their bow blown off. And the Navy carried fire more than it did the enemy, and I could understand why. I remember one ship was coming in. There was hardly anybody on it was alive, and the rest of them burned. A lot of the bodies were still on that ship. They hadn't been out too far away from Pearl. It got hit, bombed and all. I don't know what all. And I can still dream and see that ship. All the stench and the attitude of the guys there. Of course, they're all broken-hearted and everything else. And going through all that fire, and a lot of them still had injuries from fire. He had 2 destroyers shot out from under him, and he survived both of them. And I said, well, I was wondering about some people when the ship goes down. What was the thing? He said, there's nobody standing there; it's all on their knees praying. And he had quite a tour in the Navy. I had volunteered for the Navy for the duration of the war and 6 months, but I didn't have to stay the 6 months. We had a chance to come home, so I did to help my dad on the farm. So I came back on a KA with about 2,000 people on this. And I had some terrible storms coming back. It took us 5 days to get back to San Francisco. And we tied up in San Francisco I saw the bridge, way in the distance in the horizon. I thought, this ship can't get under that bridge. But it was a Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and plenty of room. And I got off of the ship there, and the next day, we got on a train to come back to Chicago. Terrible trip. Took the southern route, went through Texas, and North Texas, and there was a lot of sand blowing in the train. We stopped for everybody else to go by. If there was another train coming, we stopped on the side track and let them go by. It was the worst trip I've had in my life of getting back to Chicago. Full of sand and there was no air conditioning. It was all windows were down and I drove in and it was hot. And I declared there I'll never go back to Texas as long as I live. And I never have. I hear a lot of good stuff about Texas today, but I didn't like it at that time. I got back to the Great Lakes station where we were trained, and we were discharged there. And they had a table as you left the room where we got a discharge. You could sign up again. I went right on around that table and come back to Illinois to help my dad. And my dad and mom met me at Effingham on the railroad station. That's the railroad station. And that was the end of my naval experience. Well, Jane, my youngest daughter, arranged it for me. She was my assistant almost, except we flew from Springfield, Illinois to Washington, D.C. And it was really a nice trip. It was real nice. That made you think you won the war by yourself. I guess it would be my parents, because I had some wonderful parents. My dad was a hard worker, and my mom was a good cook. That was our cook. One day he was on Liberty, and he come back and he had crazy. He had a Marine uniform, and he's all buggered up. And I said, "What in the world happened to you?" Well, he said, "I had a little too much to drink down in Honolulu there, and come back. That train run over me. It was one that went out in the field, the pineapple field, and hit him. And it didn't kill him, but they put him in the hospital, and they happened to go in with a bunch of Marines." And there's all getting their clothing and everything. He even got a Purple Heart. And he was strange. We got to he was a funny guy anyway, to be an alcoholic and all. But he wasn't that great a cook, but he knew how to make, we call it torpedo juice. Out in January 1946. And February I entered the University of Illinois on the GI Bill. I didn't even know what it was. And when I went to register, they said, "What college do you want to be in?" I thought, I didn't even know. I thought, this is one. I said, "Well, come to the University of Illinois." They said, "Well, you want to be an engineer, you want to be whatever. You want LA&S or what? Why do you want to And I said, well, I don't know you. They said, well, what was your experience? I said, I was born and raised on a farm. So okay, we'll put you in agriculture. So I was in general agriculture, and it wasn't long till I said, there's two things I don't want to be. I don't want to be a preacher, and I don't want to be a teacher. And they said, we need teachers. I said, well, I don't think I'd make a very good teacher, but after a while they coerced me into taking me a WAG. So in 1950, I already had a job for me at the school I graduated from 9 years before that, I guess, or 8 or 9 years. They said never go back to the same place and just teach. But there I was. I started out. I taught 10 years. And I started off with $5,000 a year. And I thought, man, I'm going to be wealthy. That was back when a dollar was a dollar. And I got to where we couldn't pay the bills. I told the guy in McGill, the principal, I said, I'm going to have a raise or get another job. And he said, well, why don't you go talk to the board and see if they give you a job. So I did. They gave me a $700 raise. Well, it wasn't long I wouldn't pay the bills either. So I had a chance to go with Allied Mills as a district sales manager. So I went with them. Then I spent the rest of my life with district and general and regional sales managers for seed companies and feed companies.